Seth, but it changed me.
Someone you want to know, Seth MacFarlane, the creative force behind Family Guy.
Do you ever worry that you're going to run out of funny jokes?
I've been worrying about that since day one.
And someone you need to know, Jason Wu, the young designer behind Michelle Obama's inauguration gown. I can't wait to introduce you to him.
A few years ago, all I wanted to do was succeed in fashion. I didn't think my work would be in the museum.
On this show, you'll see people in their element and out of character.
What do you think's the one thing people would be most surprised about you?
Very into S&M. Just kidding.
Gwyneth, Jason, and Seth all achieved critical success by the age of 26. Gwyneth Paltrow won an Oscar. Jason Wu designed a famous dress. And Seth MacFarlane launched his first TV show. Seth has built a billion-dollar television empire, which isn't surprising considering he was already drawing his favorite cartoon, The Flintstones, at 2 years old. He landed his first job at Hanna-Barbera after his college professor submitted his thesis film. That film became the inspiration for Family Guy, which debuted the same year Seth turned 26.
What, so that's it, Peter? You're just giving up? I don't know what else to do, Brian. I guess we're never gonna be a family.
5 Emmy Awards later, Family Guy is one of the most successful and irreverent shows on television. With American Dad and The Cleveland Show, Seth owns Sunday nights on Fox. After signing a $100 million deal in 2008, he became the highest paid television producer in the world. But this creative mastermind is just getting started. His debut album was nominated for 2 Grammys. And he's directing his first movie, Ted, starring Mark Wahlberg. And he's producing a sequel to the classic Carl Sagan PBS series, Cosmos. Seth MacFarlane is someone we all want to know. What better place to get to know him than in his own home in Los Angeles?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi,
How are you?
Seth,
How's it going?
how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I heard running and feet.
You want to do that again?
Yeah, no, I think that was pretty.
I tried to make it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing staged about it.
Not at all.
And really, America knows the truth.
This is really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this like the world you've conquered in a way, kind of?
Yeah, I suppose.
I like it.
The depressing, smoggy, dismal world.
Look at that. We've got, what is that actually?
That is Lower Manhattan. That's how high up
Yeah.
we are. This is all a backdrop like you see on The Tonight Show.
Who's Kitty Cat?
That is my cat.
Where is your
I guess I
cat?
should have moved that for the... my cat is somewhere probably murdering some small creature.
Well, I want to talk about Family Guy. So how many voices do you have on Family Guy?
You know, with additional characters, maybe as many as 25 voices.
Was it 3 shows or just 1 episode?
With just 1 episode.
Wow.
Because you have cutaways, you have flashbacks, you have these oftentimes huge cast lists.
All right. Nobody fire at Lois. She's scared. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. Damn it, Peter, that hurt. Relax, Quagmire. You're doing better than Peter Weller from the opening scene of RoboCop.
You've become kind of a mythic figure in your productivity here. You just have released an album. You've got 3 shows. You have another show, the Cosmos, going. You did a movie. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Do you think when you were like the invisible kid growing up in the middle of nowhere, Connecticut, was a lot of your initial attention making your parents laugh?
Yeah, I mean that was always certainly a goal. I was an obnoxious 7-year-old in that regard. I'm much more reserved now. Impressions, it was everything under the sun to get a friggin' laugh out of somebody. Now I do it through the work.
Right.
I'm a little more manageable to be around on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, that was certainly a goal to fill some sort of hole of insecurity.
Mm-hmm. But where do you think your sense of drive comes from, and just ambition, and frankly, I see it as kind of fearlessness. Just stop me at any point.
Fearless. I won't even get on a roller coaster. So I don't know about fearless. On some level, I think anybody in entertainment who is driven to keep going and can't take a vacation and can't sit still and goes crazy after 3 days of inactivity, I think there's got to be some sort of deep-rooted insecurity that's a result of you're trying to prove something, or you're trying to compensate for. I don't know what it could be, but it's this drive to kind of, for me, to do something that I haven't tried, or do something that scares me a little bit. And I suppose in some ways, for somebody who's not in the entertainment industry, it's analogous to, climbing Mount Everest or visiting 100 different countries, constantly stimulating yourself with new experiences that are exciting and challenging and maybe scary a little bit. I'm not climbing Mount Everest, but nothing I'm doing, nothing I'm doing endangers my life. Maybe long term with stress, but beyond that, it's wherever that comes from. In those cases, it probably comes from the same place for me, just in a different way.
And were your parents artistically inclined at all?
They were. My dad sang for a lot of years. He was a folk singer, and he was tapped by a Tonight Show scout in the 70s to come sing on the Carson Show, and he didn't do it. He didn't want to sell out to the man. He didn't want that kind of attention. He just didn't want to do it. He was very good, and he just wasn't what he wanted. He likes to build. He built a timber frame house from scratch that I grew up in. He built a log cabin. Sculpture is more his forte, I suppose.
Did he ever regret not going on the Tonight Show?
No, I don't think he ever regretted it. I think to this day, no, I wouldn't have been for me.
And does he think you sold out?
No.
So it didn't carry over in a generation.
No.
Yeah.
He's very happy with what's happened.
I want to talk about your mom for a sec. I know a lot of your dirty sense of humor has to come from your mom.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And you've said that before.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Foul mouth, like.
She would stub her toe, and you'd hear like a stream of obscenities that would just come
Delightful.
hurtling out of her mouth. She got the show. I used to get a call from her every Monday morning after Family Guy would air, and she would say, "Oh my God, I thought it was hilarious," or she would say, "Not one of your best." There was nothing you could say that would piss her off or offend her. Like she had a very youthful sense of humor.
I remember when I first met you, she was very ill, and it was kind of like.
Yeah. I mean, it had been percolating for a while, but it's been a little over a year.
Mm-hmm. And how has the past year been for you?
It's been it was rough for about the first half of it, and then it's still obviously rough, but it's been surprisingly manageable. It's a lesson in going to the doctor, getting your annual physical, and trusting medical science. Not taking too many crazy herbs because.
Did she do that, or?
No, she wasn't a holistic type. She just didn't.
Well, there was a little. I remember we talked about this a little bit in her family or in the background. A little
Christian Science.
Christian Science,
yeah,
right?
Which is kind of an oxymoron. There are 3 women in my mom's family who were all Christian Scientists who all died of cancer. So that kind of tells you how well that's working out.
Yeah.
Mind over matter, positive thinking. Look, any doctor will tell you. Great. It's a great supplemental element to the legitimate medical treatments.
Mm-hmm.
It's denial in a lot of ways. She wasn't a practicing Christian Scientist.
You were raised that.
No, but I think there was enough of that way of thinking in the family that scared her when it came to doctors. And that fit with her personality. She was unbelievably resilient. The woman had a Volkswagen bus fall on her in 1977. That was the last time she was at the hospital. When she did finally relent and say, all right, I'm going to go to the doctor. These people are actually, they can help. And she was kind of the first member of her family to kind of make that leap. And she was pretty amazing for doing that. The surgeons at Cedars-Sinai were able to buy her essentially an additional 3 months in which she got to see the birth of her granddaughter. So that's something. That's
great.
It was very metaphoric in a way. These brave men and women of science struggling to undo the damage of a harmful dogma. If you're going to take a stab at somebody, even a celebrity, it can't just be mean, it's also got to be funny, or else they really, really have to deserve it.
I'm still going to be myself, and I'm still going to tweet marginally dirty.
So religion and atheism are popular topics on Family Guy.
Yeah.
Where's the atheism come from?
Read enough and you learn enough, eventually you're going to come to that conclusion. As arrogantly assholic as that sounds, a lot of this is very comforting. It's very nice. You know, I mean, and any atheist would be thrilled to find out that he's wrong.
Right.
You know, that when you die, there's actually something after. Any one of us, if they tell you any different, they're lying. Would love to know that there is in fact an afterlife. But there's a great Carl Sagan quote: "I will always prefer the uncomfortable truth to my dearest of illusions," and I think that certainly applies.
But you have plenty of friends that are Catholics and Jews.
Oh yeah, and you actually can discuss it.
Right.
You know, I mean, I guess you're both kind of privately judging the other one, but if you're able to interact in you know, without being arrogant about it, then yeah, you can. There's no reason you can't coexist. I mean, certainly if I have kids, I certainly will not shield them from the church.
Now, did you go to church when you were a kid?
I did. I was in a church choir when I was a kid.
Okay.
You know, I didn't really. I remember even as a kid having trouble with some of the things that I heard in church. I remember going to Sunday school one week and learning about Adam and Eve and asking about, well, where do the dinosaurs fit into all this? You know, because we learned about the dinosaurs in school, and they would say, well, we don't talk about that here. So there was always something that made me think I was being fed a little bit of bull. And I will say that the rational atheist who truly respects the scientific method will say he's only 99.9% atheist. Because if you can't prove it one way or the other.
Let's talk a little bit about the album. It is the big band music, orchestra music.
You break the spell when you start to speak. That technique is all wrong. Just forget about words and sing a song.
You've kind of found some gems, some little unknown, right?
Yeah, well,
songs.
There are literally thousands of those songs. Some of the most complex music that has ever come out of the popular music industry. And I think that's why most of those songs can be covered in just about every single style imaginable. I'm comfortable in that genre. I'm comfortable with that type of music. If I tried to sing a rock song, I would fail miserably. But it's just because I love the music.
And you sang with you sang live with the orchestra, and I know you
live
used
with
that
the orchestra.
Frank Sinatra mic.
I used the Frank Sinatra mic. Yeah, everything about the album was done the way they did it 50 years ago.
I've read about it, and you obviously have a great shtick about it. With Liquid Courage, needing to have a Jack Daniels to get the nerve to perform. That's kind of part of your essence.
Yeah.
Right? The Scotsman, the drinking, the bon vivant kind of thing. How much of that is you, and how much of that is your kind of...
I mean, look, it's more fun when you've had a couple of drinks.
What about when you do your voices for all the shows?
No. When I record Family Guy and American Idol, I don't touch a drop. So you have to be kind of really quick with the back and forth.
What color is a fire truck?
Oh, God, I always get these. Lois, what are you doing?
I switched Peter's questions to the preschool edition, just to let him have his moment.
Good thing I just watched that National Geographic special on fire trucks.
A solitary killer. The fire truck stalks its prey.
So that's all done in the grim, dark state of sobriety.
You want to go outside?
We're going to transition outside. We're just going to get our cameras outside. Take 2 minutes.
Okay. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Very, very nice. I guess this is what your $100 million contract will buy you, right? Is it true that you never had a credit card until you sold Family Guy?
That is true.
And then you got one, I would imagine, a
Now
Black American
I have
Express
a credit
card, right? Yeah. Do you ever feel like you've gone too far at all?
Yeah, from time to time, and that's inevitable when you're doing a show that skirts the line of taste. There have been jokes that I would rather we not have done. The John F. Kennedy Pez dispenser was probably something that
From the wound in his head,
yeah.
right? That was...
yeah. That's something I probably would not do now. There have been a couple surprising people who've become very upset. Adrian Brody got very upset with me one time at a party about a joke that we had made about him, and I felt horrible because I actually think he's a a tremendously gifted actor. And if you're going to take a stab at somebody, even a celebrity, it can't just be mean. It's also got to be funny, or else they really, really have to deserve it.
Do you ever worry that you're going to run out of funny jokes?
I've been worrying about that since day one.
All right, so we getting any closer to a Mrs. MacFarlane? Or are you going to be like
Wow.
George Clooney? Are you a confirmed bachelor?
No,
Or
no,
are
no. I'm definitely the type of person who can absolutely see myself married at some point, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it harder with success?
Yes. Women of substance will look at you and be skeptical at first. You're almost like trying to break the curse of the success and say, no, I'm a normal guy. I'm the same guy that I was before all this happened.
Do you find it kind of impossible in Hollywood to date?
Oh, Hollywood is a very unnatural place to date. I'm very old-fashioned. The concept of a traditional date is strangely, within this community, unheard of. There's no sense of, let's meet at this place at this time.
Well, how about I'll pick you up and then...
Yeah, even more exotic.
Yeah.
You can't say that in this town.
I imagine when you're working all the time, it can get kind of hectic, right?
Yeah, and when I'm with somebody who is giving something back to me, I make time. I twist my schedule. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's 100 times more fulfilling to work on a movie or a TV show if you, as corny as it sounds, if you have somebody to share it with.
Right. I mean, what's your whole take on the Twitter phenomenon?
I don't know whether Twitter is a good or a bad thing. I don't know whether it is good to be that instantly accessible to your fans. Does it ruin the mystique of, entertainment?
Well, it gets back to the old Hollywood. I do think the industry has suffered.
Yeah, I want to see Grace Kelly in high society. I don't want to see her stumbling drunk out of Musso and Frank's,
Right.
I don't think that ever happened, but...
Do you want to ask me a question? Because we're out of time.
Yeah. What was your first sexual experience?
Oh, I was a late bloomer, I'd have to say. Yeah.
I was kidding.
That was good. I'm not going to ask you that
The
because
old
I don't
Hoover.
even want to know.
The old Hoover. Excuse me, fellas.